Front to front, and they score! And Jerusalem! Goldstein fires! Blast and goal! Brady back again. He's not going to be 10 and goes forward. And he fumbles the football, and the Eagles have it.
We welcome you to the Phillies Sports Hour here in 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. I think we can officially drop the Happy New Year. We're 4 days into the year. It's great to be with all of you today. Ben Goldstein. We're going to talk a lot of Phillies sports today. We got Eagles. We got some college football to talk about. We got Sixers, Flyers, and a little bit of Union talk as well today. So we're going over everything possible today, and I'm looking forward to it. Hope you guys all had a great holiday season, a great New Year. We're back. Last week I was in Florida, back in Pennsylvania today, back in the cold. It was snowing yesterday. I'm not big on the snow. You know, I like when it's first falling, but after, it's awful. You got to walk the dog in the snow. Your feet's getting wet. The dog's feet's getting wet. You're driving in the snow. It's like it's all wet. I'm not a fan of the aftermath of the snow. But when it's falling and you're inside watching it, it's cool. I'm not a fan of everything after you got to shovel, wipe off your car. It's a pain. I'm not a fan. But I am a fan of the Eagles. And that's where we're going to start. That's where we're going to start today's show, with the Eagles. And, well, tomorrow, the Eagles are playing the New York Giants in Week 18 at Lincoln Financial Field. In a meaningless game for both teams, except the Giants, who probably should be losing so they can get the number 2 pick, even though they lost, or even though they beat the Colts last week to not get the number 1 pick. So now it doesn't really mean like anything. But it's Eagles-Giants tomorrow in a meaningless game at the Link. And the Eagles are not playing their starters. Particularly Saquon Barkley is the main story here. People are up in arms about this. He was 101 yards short of Eric Dickerson's all-time single rushing record. Saquon surpassed 2,000 yards last week. Is at 2,004. 2,105 is the record that Eric Dickerson has held since 1984. And he's not going to get it. And, you know, it sucks for the player. You always root for the record. You always rooting on the guy to go out and get it, but it's not going to happen. Whatever. He's not out yet. He's listed as doubtful, so he could still be going out there. But there's a lot of other things with playing Saquon. If you were to, like, you also need to throw in the offensive line. All those guys need to be out there. Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton. They all need to be out there in order for the oils to flow and the tires to turn and everything like that. Also, so they aren't just stuffing the box against Saquon. You also need your wide receivers out there. You need A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And so you're basically playing the whole offense. Jalen Hurts isn't going to be playing Sunday. We can get into that a little bit later. But you would need everybody involved to, make Saquon do it. And it's 100 yards. Like, Saquon has been taking 20-plus rushes to get to 100 yards, and that's typically coming in the second half. So this wouldn't be a little quickie, get him in there, get him out of there. No, this is going to take a while. And, I don't see there's too much risk involved with that. Like, what happens if Saquon gets hurt? Your offensive scheme is gone because you're a run-first offense. You lose Saquon Barkley. You haven't had Jalen Hurts in 3 weeks. What are you going to do? Like that could be a problem. What if Lane Johnson gets hurt? You know the Eagles' record with Lane on and off the field. What if Mailata gets hurt? What if there's so many possibilities. We saw it last year when the Eagles started their starters in a meaningless game that was for the 5 or if it was for the 6th seed. It was a meaningless game. It didn't matter. And they started the starters. And they were out after the first quarter because A.J. Brown got hurt. And you didn't have A.J. Brown in the wild card round at the Buccaneers. So that's my problem with it, is there's so much injury risk. And it's the Giants. So you know they're going to be a little, pissed off and going after you. I mean, against Saquon, I don't get it. I don't. And of course, it's great to break the record against Saquon, against the Giants. Saquon, Giants, but there's so much more on the back end. And also, wouldn't you rather the Giants win? The Eagles lose, Giants win. It's really a win for the Eagles because this game doesn't matter. 2 seeds already locked up. NFC East is already locked up. If the Giants win, they get a worse draft pick. Now, they're already out of the 1 pick. But, maybe they get out of the top 5. That'd be hilarious. And I would personally enjoy that more, a Giants failure in a meaningless game, than an Eagles win in a meaningless game. Because it doesn't mean anything. And I don't care. But now we're doing the thing. We're doing the thing now that the Eagles not breaking this record now means they got to go win a Super Bowl. Here's a video from Get Up about it.
Andy Reid always rests his guys when they have everything locked up. All that is well and good, but they don't always have a record of this magnitude that also hangs in the balance. What's your reaction to the decision?
Better go win the whole thing then. I get it. Football-wise, I get it. The fan in me is bummed about it because he's so close. And I understand the most important thing is going to win the Super Bowl. Better go get it because you don't want to go for 2 for him. You don't want to pass on, having his name and your team and your name and your franchise attached to that record and then not also win the Super Bowl. So if you're Philly and Nick Sirianni, I 1,000% understand the football element of it. Go win the Super Bowl.
I think what we're seeing, though, is also all these coaches and how they view their team. Do what's best for your organization.
Sure.
When you look at Dan Campbell and playing those guys last week, knowing that they had this matchup versus the Minnesota Vikings this week, when you look at Andy Reid not playing Mahomes or whatnot, and then you look at Nick Sirianni deciding to sit Saquon Barkley and other guys, you have to do what's best for your team. But I agree with Dan. I'm a football fan. I want to see records get broken. I want to see Saquon eclipse a record that's been set since 40 years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
We talked about it the last time I was on the show, 1984. Greeny, that was the year I was born.
Yes, you mentioned
Not
that.
ironically.
Right.
You got to go because you're taking yourself. Also, you're kind of taking yourself out of the MVP and the Offensive Player of the Year.
You are not
conversation.
you were definitively taking yourself out of it.
Yeah, you don't want to look back in February and be like, oh, we didn't get the record, and I know you have to go win it as a team. That's my thing. Like that, there is now even more of an emphasis. Go get one of those done. Go win the Super Bowl.
My thing with that is the two have nothing to do with each other. They two have nothing to do with each other. Nothing. It's a personal record for Saquon Barkley. The other one is a Vince Lombardi trophy in the Super Bowl. That's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal coming into the season was, I'm going to break Eric Dickerson's record. The ultimate goal coming into the season is, we're going to win a Super Bowl. And, it just makes no sense. I mean, I guess for Saquon, it's like, I don't know, like you win, you get both things, you get. I don't get it. I don't know. And also, Barstool put out an article, and some other people were saying this, like now the Eagles are Super Bowl or bust because they're sitting Saquon. The Eagles have been Super Bowl or bust for 3 years. And this is nothing new. Nothing has changed with the Eagles with what their ultimate goal is and what they're going for with their decision to sit their starters in Week 18. Nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is you're not going to see the normal guys out there Week 18. So it's very strange to me that we're really having this discussion about, like, should the Eagles have to win the Super Bowl? because they're sitting Saquon. Makes no sense to me at all. All right. Let's move on from Saquon Barkley. We're going to welcome in Ethan Whitney to the show, who looks like he's just waking up. Ethan, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry for the lateness on my part.
All right, it's all good. We're worth going through the Eagles right now. We just talked about this whole Saquon thing, sitting the starters. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it makes sense. I love Saquon. I think it would have been probably one of the greatest moments, not just in Eagles regular season history, but just in regular season history, to see him first year in a new team, signs that contract to break that rushing record. But I think we have to be smart, focus on the playoffs. He can break the playoff rushing record if he wants to. I think the smarter decision is to rest him, though. Would have been great to see him break that record, but I think it just makes more sense to sit him, rest him for the playoffs.
We're on the same page. Now, sticking with the playoffs, report came out from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN yesterday that some people around the NFL think Sirianni's job could be in jeopardy if the Eagles lose in the first round of the playoffs. I read that yesterday, and I was like, I feel like I'm reading the same headline for the second straight year. And if nothing happened last year, why is something going to happen this year? Are you buying this at all?
Absolutely not. If he was going to lose his job, it would have been in like week 5. I did 13-win season. There's no way they fire him after a 13-win season. Even if we get blown out at home by the Commanders, I feel like that's the only way where that would ever happen. There's no way. I think it's just trying to get clicks and views from him.
Yeah, and it's Jeremy Fowler. So,
Yeah.
but like you hear that kind of stuff for the second straight year after everything that happened earlier in the season. Obviously, he was able to turn himself and this team kind of around, had his guys ready to go in this crazy 12-week span of playing games. And now it's kind of rising again that he could be on the move. His job is in jeopardy in the first round of the playoffs. Like, could something be there behind the scenes that we don't know about? And that's why this conversation is being risen again?
I feel like, there was all those conversations before the season about how apparently like Jalen Hurts hates Nick Sirianni or something like that. And then I feel like it became almost especially prevalent after that loss to the Buccaneers. But obviously it's been radio silent because the team's been winning. I feel like there has to be something there just for that headline to even be there. But you have to imagine that like the relationship will fix itself if the team's winning. And so far the team's been winning. So I really don't think I think it's all like smoke and mirrors.
All right. First round of the playoffs is the wild card coming up literally next weekend, which is crazy to think about. We're in the playoffs already. It's going to be at Lincoln Financial Field. Now it's just who's your opponent going to be. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be 11-5 Packers, but if some things move around, the Commanders could be coming back to Lincoln Financial Field. It'll be their third time meeting up with the Eagles. The Eagles met with the Packers back in week 1 in Brazil. Feels like a lifetime ago. That was just a few months ago.
That's crazy.
Who would you rather see come into the link?
I'd rather see the Packers personally because the Packers, if I'm correct, haven't beaten a playoff team this year. That could be mistaken. I'm pretty sure that they have not beaten a playoff team this year. We were able to beat them, like you said, way back in Brazil. That's crazy that was already that long ago to me. But the Commanders are one of those young teams where I don't really want to face the Commanders because they've got nothing to lose. The Packers, they've second straight year in the playoffs. Matt LaFleur trying to finally break his way into the Super Bowl, as he hasn't done that yet as the head coach of the Packers. I'd rather face the Packers because they've got something to lose. The Commanders, they're just playing with house money at this point.
So the Packers have beaten one playoff team. It came in week 5 against the Rams. However, at that time, the Rams were 1-4.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree. Also, a few years ago, we had the big debate. Can the Eagles beat the Giants 3 times in a season? It is very hard seeing a team 3 times in one season. You know exactly what you're doing. And with Washington, you lost to the Commanders. They know you very well. You played 2 pretty competitive games against them, and now you're playing them again. You just played them a few weeks ago. With the Giants, first of all, it's Daniel Jones and the Giants, so it's a little different. And you kind of, destroyed them throughout the regular season. Welcome them into the postseason, you're just kind of going to kill them again. So
yeah,
I also prefer the Packers kind of for that reason. And also the Eagles are a completely different team than when they saw the Packers back in Brazil in September.
absolutely. And like you said, I think the biggest difference there is that the Commanders have an elite quarterback and the Giants didn't then. I think that's the deciding factor for me.
6 Eagles Pro Bowlers, Ethan. We got Zach Bond, Saquon Barkley, Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, and Jalen Carter. 6 great picks, but do you feel like there were any snubs?
I think the biggest snub is Jordan Mailata. I feel like we've seen that. I feel like I've seen that a little bit talked about. I think he was, for PFF, one of the highest graded players in the NFL this season and not making the Pro Bowl. I know he did miss some time, but I think that's one of the, if not the best left tackle in football. I think that's the snub that's bothered me the most. But, 6, like you said, 6 Pro Bowlers is impressive all its own, but I think Mailata definitely got snubbed.
I think I didn't see the reserve list, but I think Mailata was on that list. I think A.J. Brown was on that list. I'm not sure if Quinyon Mitchell was on that list or not, but I feel like he was a guy that could have been on this Pro Bowl list. I mean, he's been one of the best corners in the NFL. He's a rookie. He's been crazy dominant throughout the season. He just doesn't really have the interception numbers and the flashy numbers that a lot of the pickers and fans are looking for when they're voting for their Pro Bowlers and stuff. But could you have maybe seen Quinyon on there?
I think it's the interception numbers. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think we've seen plenty of moments throughout this season where it's like he might just be cursed. It was the other week with C.J. Gardner-Johnson taking it out of his hands, but I think it comes down to the interception numbers. The NFC has a lot of great corners, so he'll probably be on the reserve list. I haven't looked at it either, though.
Yeah, I mean, like literally last week, C.J. Gardner-Johnson took that ball out of his hand. When he intercepted, I was like, yes, but no. Like I wanted because Sam and I on our pregame show have been saying almost every single week that Quinyon Mitchell needs an interception, or else we're never going to eat again. And he just never gets it. And it's like, I don't know. Hopefully it won't happen this week. Hopefully he gets in the playoffs against someone to seal the game. Maybe a little Green Goblin, Jalen Mills throwback against the Falcons. We can get a little fun Quinyon moment.
It's going to happen.
All right, Week 18 against the New York Giants. First of all, we need to show this Saquon Barkley commercial.
Oh, my God.
I've heard you guys had some trouble sleeping lately. We got a big game coming up. You should rest up. Maybe try some Unison. I don't need it, but you might. I'm going to sleep like a baby. I heard some of you were having trouble sleeping, so I wrote you a lullaby. Rockabye baby, awaken your bed, as the thought of 2000 swirls in your head. It sure is tough to lose sleep over football. Not for me, though. Good night to you all. Still can't sleep? Try counting sheep. Wow, you still can't sleep? Try some Unison. I don't need it, but
it's just a great commercial and so many shots at the Giants. How can you not play him after that?
That's I didn't realize there were 2 more. I'd only seen the first one. Oh my God. That's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, now the Giants really aren't. Because you remember that video from Hard Knocks of Giants. Yeah. You're going to have a hard time sleeping if Saquon goes to Philadelphia. The guy isn't sleeping now. He's 100 yards away from breaking the record. He could have done it against your team. You're very lucky he's not. But now you got these commercials swirling around. It just feels like the ultimate, like you're the ultimate loser in the world, the New York Giants.
And you beat the Colts last week, so you're not getting Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward.
I was saying earlier before you got in, I would rather a Giants win
Yeah, exactly.
on Sunday, so they're like out of the top 5, then an Eagles win, because I don't care what happens with the Eagles as long as everyone stays healthy. But if the Giants win, it's a win for the Eagles.
Hey, they can get Carson back. You can
There you go.
trot him out there next year.
All right. No Jalen Hurts again. He's still in concussion protocol. He hasn't practiced since the Washington game. He should be fine for the postseason, but there is some concern here. We haven't seen Jalen since 2024.
It's been a whole year, hasn't it been? I was hoping, like you said, I was hoping to be able to get into this game, but it kind of reminds me of a couple years back when he didn't play the last couple weeks of the season and then came out against the Giants in that divisional round game and just, I don't want to say dominated, but did what he had to do, looked fine, and then had a great Super Bowl from there. I think he'll be fine. He's a great quarterback. He has another week to rest. Would have liked to see him get into the playoff game. In the game this week, like maybe just a drive or two in the first quarter. Obviously, you don't want to risk him furthering that finger or the concussion, I guess. I don't know if they're headhunting him, but I would have liked to see him get in, but things happen. Keep him safe.
Yeah, I mean, he's still in protocol, so there's really nothing you can do right now. Like, he probably won't even be at the game on Sunday. There is a little concern with me here because he hasn't practiced in 3 weeks. Like, he has not been on a football field in 3 weeks. We didn't see that when he didn't play the last few games a few years ago. This time he's literally not practicing, and hopefully he should be back at practice this week, hopefully preparing for the Packers or Commanders in the wild card round on either Saturday or Sunday. I highly doubt it'll be the Monday night game. I hope it's not the Monday night game. But, there is a little bit of thing with me, like, hey, this guy hasn't been out there in weeks. But hopefully he'll be okay. Not much has really changed since he's begun with the offensive philosophy.
Yeah, we just got to get him. If he's not practicing come, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's when, all right, we can sound the panic button now for me. But I've still got faith in Jalen Hurts. And maybe he's just not good at the concussion tests. So that could be the whole thing there. We saw Jaquan Brisker in Chicago be on the concussion protocol for 2 months. And it's like maybe it's just a hard test. I've never taken it. But
yeah, Jalen Hurts and I are both not good at tests. That might just be the answer. All right. We're going to see a lot of backups tomorrow. Tanner McKee is probably going to start a quarterback. You're going to get a good amount of Kenny Gainwell. You're going to get Bryce Huff playing some edge, getting some reps in. He hasn't played for real in a while. Are there any players you're most interested and excited to see?
I'm interested to see the Mormon Missile, as they apparently call him, Tanner McKee. I was shocked that he played as well as he did last week. I've been saying that he should be the QB2 for a while now over Pickett, who also played very well last week. So I'm going to be interested to see how he performs. I mean, he might be able to, at bare minimum, find a deal with another team in the offseason if he plays well. But I'm interested to see if that was just 2 good passes or if he's actually a suitable backup.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, with those 2 passes, he looked like he could be maybe the quarterback of the future for the New York Giants at this point. But Tanner McKee will be fun. You're not going to get Kenny Pickett with his ribs. I'm excited to see some Bryce Huff. We haven't seen a lot of Bryce Huff recently, so he's going to get a good amount of reps on Sunday, get him fueled and ready to go, hopefully for the postseason. So when this Eagles defense was starting to play better, it was also when Bryce Huff started to elevate his game a little bit. So hopefully he can get back to maybe how he was last year, not this year, but kind of more suitable and, getting to the quarterback. And it's always good for reps. What's your prediction?
I think the Giants are not going to have anything to play for. That's an unmotivated group. They're fighting for Brian Dable's job, if anything, at this point. I mean, I know that it seems like the locker room likes him. I think the Eagles do take the win here. I think we see some good performances. Kenny Gainwell is a guy I've liked for a while. Fletcher Cox's cousin, just learned that very recently. Felt like I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think Tanner McKee versus Drew Lock is going to be, a game of our lifetime, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, if you're going to the game in the freezing weather tomorrow, I give you a lot of credit. I will see you tomorrow at the Eagles pregame show with Sam. You can tune in 12 o'clock for the SeatGeek Eagles pregame show, and SeatGeek also sponsoring this show as well. SeatGeek is the easiest and most efficient way to buy your tickets. Each seat is given a green, red, or yellow dot, indicating whether purchasing that ticket would be a good, bad, or fair deal. If you use code Phillies Sports Report at checkout, right here, Phillies Sports Report, all one word, no S at the end of reports, you can save $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Phillies Sports Report, $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Playoffs are here. NBA and NHL actually mean things now. MLB is right around the corner. I can't believe it, but pitchers and catchers report in just over a month. Crazy. Use Philly Sports Report at checkout. Save $20 off. Link is in the description or the bio. Thank you to the great people over at SeatGeek, for sponsoring the show. All right, let's move on. We got some college football to talk about. A pretty good week for college football. Penn State getting the win over Boise State. Texas just getting past Arizona State. That was crazy. Ohio State absolutely dominating Oregon. And then the Cotton Bowl, you saw Notre Dame take down the Georgia Bulldogs. I want to talk about this Cam Scatterby, dude.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness. A 42-yard touchdown. He threw a 42-yard touchdown. He also rushed for 142 yards and made 8 receptions for 99 yards. He's just like the baddest man I've ever seen.
I mean, yeah, I haven't really been paying attention to Arizona State football until I watched that Big 12 championship game where he also popped off. I forget what his numbers were exactly, but I'm like, okay, this kid's something to watch out for. And then he comes out here against Texas. No one is taking the Arizona State Sun Devils except for their most diehard fans. And he almost single-handedly wills them to beating the second-best team in the SEC. I mean, he's a guy, a lot of people are like, bring him to Philly. That'd be awesome to see just for buying a Cam Scatterby Eagles jersey. But he was incredible. And it's just that targeting call. Shame that, I don't know, didn't look like targeting to me. Or excuse me, did look like targeting to me. That's a shame that that's how that game is going to probably be remembered for a lot of fans. But fantastic game, like you said. Like the commentators were saying, instant classic, which the playoff needed after that first round.
Yeah, they sure did. A lot of uncompetitive. Every game except for that game was uncompetitive so far through the first 2 rounds. Hopefully the semifinal will give us something better. Yeah, that targeting call, that changed the game. I mean, that the guy on Texas absolutely blew up the Arizona. I think it was Scatterby. What's Scatterby that got blown up?
I thought it might have been the transfer.
I don't think it was Scatterby. But yeah, I mean, it was an absolute explosion at midfield and didn't go Arizona State's way. And I thought that was one of the worst calls of the worst time you could have made. Because, I mean, from my perspective, I think the announcer's perspective, everyone, that was targeting.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the SEC fixes in a little bit.
Yeah, it sucks because it would have been way easier to say that if it was SEC refs. It was Big Ten refs, unfortunately, but it doesn't really matter. You know, it's a bad call either way. It's just, I hope it won't be like when we talk about this game in even just 2 years, that's not going to be the first thing that comes up because it was a fantastic game. And you just hate to see that be such a huge factor in a great playoff game like that.
Yeah, Cam Scatterby, could he be drafted? Like, where could he claims he's better than Ashton Genty, which after watching this game, I'm like, dude, this guy is he's like Shohei Ohtani of college football. The guy can literally do everything. I want to go see him play linebacker now too. Where could you see him maybe going?
I've seen a lot of people saying he's 3 in the draft in terms of running backs. I'd put him I'm not a draft expert by any means, but I'd put him at 2 just below Genty after what I'm just seeing. Like you said, after watching that game, I'm like, all right, this guy's going to break the NFL rushing record. But I feel like he could be a sneaky second rounder guy. I feel like just off of hype, someone could take him in the first round, but it's a loaded running back class. So it'll be interesting to see where he falls in that. But there's just a lot of running back down. I think he's kind of propelled himself amongst the top, at minimum, top 5. Also,
Scatterby, great name. Great.
Incredible name.
It's a great announcer name. I'm very looking forward to, I don't know about Joe Buck, but maybe Jim Nance ripping his Scatterby
God.
during this season. All right, let's look at the semifinals. The first game on Thursday night is the Orange Bowl. It's Penn State and Notre Dame. It's the Battle of Northeast Philadelphia. That'll be very fun. What are we thinking here? Penn State's been rolling, destroyed Boise State, shut down Ashton Genty, but Notre Dame they played very well against Georgia in New Orleans. Who do we got?
Well,
No
I am a
bias.
little bit biased. I'm a little bit biased as a Nittany Lions fan myself, but I will try to, keep it even here. The last time we played a Power 4 team, well, SMU, I don't think they were ready for the environment that was Happy Valley that day. It was 110,000 people. There was that incredible clip of their quarterback just not knowing what he's supposed to do. And then the week before, or the other week, we had played Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, and that game was not as close as the score we'll say it was. So Notre Dame, obviously the hardest competition we've had on this path. They are an incredible team. I'm very nervous. I was really hoping Georgia would beat them, but it'll be a very close game. I do think Penn State has the ability to edge this win out, and I do think that will happen on Thursday.
All right, and then the Cotton Bowl on Friday night. You got an Ohio State team that rolled Tennessee, killed the Ducks, literally stuck a knife into the duck throat and ate it. Literally, they cooked the duck in the oven at the Rose Bowl and had a turducken after the game. That's a little graphic. But they destroyed Oregon. And then Texas, who just pulled one out of Arizona State, they're the last SEC team remaining. Could we have a Big Ten national championship this season?
I think at bare minimum, we're going to have Ohio State in there because I don't know about you, Ben. I've never been big on this Texas team going into the playoffs. They did not have a single ranked win. They couldn't beat Georgia's backup quarterback. I think this might be the ugliest of these Ohio State games. I really don't think they're the number 3 team in the country. I just don't think they're that good.
I mean, you will see Ohio State rolling to the playoffs off of 3 dominant victories coming off of their loss to Michigan, which I was with a Michigan fan last night, and he was like, it doesn't matter if Ohio State wins the national championship. They already lost the real national championship to Michigan. So I thought that was kind of funny. But Ohio State could be playing in 2 national championships this year, so we'll see how that goes. And yeah, no, very little SEC teams. Something else I thought was interesting. We have this talk in baseball all the time of how when you get the first round bye, you typically lose. We didn't see that with the Dodgers last year. They won the World Series and the Yankees as well. Every team with a first round bye in college football lost in the second round of the playoffs. Oregon lost. Who else lost? Oregon lost. Arizona State lost. Georgia lost. And the other team lost. Georgia, or who am I missing? Oregon lost. So all 4 of them are out of the playoffs. Should there be reseeding in college football? Should the teams that win their conference not get the first round bye? How should this be altered?
Yeah, I think it comes down to I think winning your conference should get you a first round bye. I mean, a playoff spot guaranteed. Like the top 4 conference champions should get a playoff spot, but I think the bye should go to 1, 2, 3, and 4, even if that's 4 second place teams, which it probably won't be. That'd be insane. But if it's 4 second place teams who are all in the top 4, I think those teams should be getting bye. There was if we want to talk about Oregon, how tough of a road they would have had to the national championship, if you would have reseeded it where it's top 4 get first round byes and then top 4 conference champions, everyone's just normal bracket there. It looked like it would have been a much more fair road for Oregon, but with hindsight, it wouldn't have mattered because if you're the best team in the country, you would have beaten Ohio State. So I think it should just be top 4 ranked teams by the poll. They get the first round byes, conference championships, get guaranteed playoff spots, and just from there, you just seed them for the highest ranked conference championships.
All right. We will see how the semifinals go, hoping for some good games there. And you're going to be hooked up after the games with all the gear from FOCO, the the bobbleheads, you got the keychain, you got all your fun stuff over at FOCO. Not just college football, all the sports, every single team you could think of is on FOCO. Ethan, rip me a team right now. I'll tell you if they're on FOCO.
Penn State.
Oh, they're on there, maybe. They're like the headline on FOCO. Real fancy, the best gear. That's why FOCO makes legendary gear for the most legendary fans. Click on the link in the description or the bio. You get 10% off any in-stock item at FOCO. What a deal. Go take advantage of that. Thank you to FOCO for sponsoring. Let's move it over. We got the Philadelphia 76ers to talk about, and we were just positive talking about the Eagles, talking about college football. And it's time to get real negative with these next two teams. The Sixers and Flyers, they both struggled out west. It's the Disney on Ice road trip. Everyone loves it. And the Sixers most recently just lost back both ends of the back-to-back to the Kings and the Warriors. They were up big on the Warriors, or up big on the Kings, but then they were outscored 33-18 in the fourth quarter. Paul George specifically had 0 points in that fourth quarter. And then against the Warriors, they just got off to a horrible start. They were down 35-19 in the first quarter and lost by 30 points. So they went 2-2 on the West Coast trip. That back-to-back was ugly, Ethan.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I saw Paul George has 30 points in the game. I'm like, okay, something's maybe finally coming around, beating the Kings. And then I tuned in for the fourth quarter thinking I might get to see some more production out of Paul George. And I did not see a single point. And we end up blowing that game. And I was like, at that point, I'm in like my basement at like whatever o'clock at night. And I'm just like, we need to blow up this entire team. I go to bed angry, go to school the next day. Nothing's going well. Then I'm like, maybe we can keep it close against the Warriors. We couldn't even do that. So at this point, I want to be so tuned out with this team. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but then as soon as you tune out, it feels like they're reeling you back in with something.
Exactly.
But this was like a weird, like against the Kings, they're up big, and then just all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, things just fall apart. And like with Paul George, you see a lot of the people, Paul George isn't clutch. You can't do anything in the fourth quarter when it's a close game. That felt very eminent in Sacramento. Also, they didn't have Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid returns against Golden State. He doesn't play badly, but I mean, they got Steph Curry. They got Chef Curry. Curry cooked them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 8 for 8 from 3 in that game. Like at this point with the Philadelphia 76ers, there has to be something there. There has to things were looking better. Now they're turning back for the worse. There's room for concern now. What is like your top number one thing right now after this road trip? I guess it ends later tonight against the Nets, but your number one, like, this is my biggest concern with the Philadelphia 76ers.
I hate to be basic, but obviously everyone on this team has had a down season, pretty much except for Tyrese Maxey. Everyone on this team has had a season that you're like, giant back to the drawing board. We'll do this again next year. But Joel Embiid specifically, I think his points per game has dropped. I mean, obviously with the injury problems he's had, he was never going to probably put up 35 again this season. That's a crazy expectation to hold for any player. But if I'm correct, he's dropped down to like 20. I'll check my numbers now. I mean, he's gone from arguably the best center in the NBA to maybe top 10. I mean, he's at 24 now. He's had a good stretch of games, but it's been a brutal season for Joel Embiid, especially when I don't know if they're thinking up time, like, do we just blow it up? Do we finally just pull the plug on this team after like 10 years? I think it's going to be a very interesting trade deadline for the entire Eastern Conference, especially with what's going down in Miami with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. He gets suspended for 7 games. Originally, the Heat weren't trading him. Now they're open for business. Like, the door is not just cracked open. This John is blown off the wall. There's not even a door. And the Jimmy Butler market it's here. Should the Sixers be interested? Would you like to see the Sixers maybe move and try and go at Jimmy Butler, or does it not even make sense?
I don't think it makes sense. Like if we were winning, maybe, but we're not. And we're a 13-19 team. Even if we make the play-in tournament, this team is not beating the Cavaliers. This team is not beating the Celtics. This team is not beating the Knicks in a 7-game series. It would be cool. Like maybe it's a 3-team trade. We can cash in on something, get some first-round picks. But as for actually getting Jimmy Butler, I don't think there's much there unless this team happens to get really hot in these next 6 or 7 games before the deadline. I believe there's about that much left. I could be wrong.
What do you think a package for Jimmy Butler would look like?
Something we don't have. Something we don't have the first round picks. I mean, like, do you want Paul George? Like, I don't think there's anything that we're gonna, unless it's Joel Embiid, I don't think there's anything that they're looking for on this team.
That's not what
that we'd be willing to give up as well.
That's not really something I wanted to hear. And something else you don't want to hear. Let's look at the Flyers now. They just lost. They didn't play very well on the West Coast either. They went 2-2. But the goaltending problem is here, ladies and gentlemen. We had a good problem with the goaltending. You know, Fedotov and Kolosov were playing well. Erson was returning. You're going to have to make a decision. Well, it sucks now. It's absolutely brutal. Kolosov, we'll start with him. He's 4-8-1. He has lost his last 3 starts and has allowed 15 goals in his last 3. He has allowed 45 goals this season and 11 starts in 15 total games. He has the worst save percentage among qualified goaltenders with an .870 save percentage. Meanwhile, Sam Ersson is day-to-day with a lower body injury. He hasn't been stellar recently either. And Ivan Fedotov, who I forgot about, has not started since November 29th. It has been over a month since we saw Ivan Fedotov play for the Philadelphia Flyers. What do you do? Like, what do you do with Kolosov, 22 years old? He's been horrible. But if you send him down, he might be like, all right, peace out. I'm going back to Russia, never coming back to play for Flyers. We saw that earlier this season when they were originally going to set him down, and then they'd be like, all right, you may get an opportunity. They brought him back up. They changed his mind somehow. It seems like they need to send him back down to the AHL. He's been terrible. You haven't seen Fedotov in forever. Ersson's hurt. What do you do?
I mean, honestly, this is going to sound like a weird take. With the Flyers, they're 17, they're 18-4. They're 6th in the Metro. I did not start watching hockey until about 2 years ago. So this is the most competitive Flyers team other than last year that I've ever seen. So at this point with the Flyers, we're rebuilding. We've got Matt Vymichkov, who looks like he could be one of the stars of the NHL in the future. I'm a happy camper no matter what. But this goaltending situation is brutal. Sam Ersson was the one guy. He stepped up huge for us last year when Carter Hart was removed and had a great year last year. Was one of the better rookie goaltenders, if not the best that we had. And now literally everyone, like you had just mentioned, is either playing horrible or somewhere we don't know about. And Ivan Fedotov, like God knows where he is at. But especially you've got January 5th, tomorrow, against the Leafs, 24-13-2, one of the better offenses in the league. Someone's got to step up eventually.
Yeah, it looks like they deem Kolosov as their number 2, Fedotov as their number 3. We haven't seen Ivan Fedotov in forever. You don't know how long Ersson's going to be out. He's currently listed as day-to-day with a lower body. He probably won't play against Toronto. But when he comes back, you can't carry 3 goaltenders forever. You need to make a decision. Do you risk losing Alexei Kolosov, maybe for good, even though he's been god-awful in the NHL? Or do you ride with Kolosov, don't risk losing him, and you send Fedotov down, even though he's kind of been the guy around for the longest?
I'm at the point where you risk it. This is a team where, like, something's got to give, like we've been saying. Something's got to give. I say you risk it. You can't live in your own fear of that he's going to leave. At some point, like, if he leaves, okay, he leaves. If he doesn't leave, okay, he doesn't leave. Like, you got to just – something's got to happen.
Yeah. I think, like, he's been so bad in the NHL that I don't think it matters. I mean, he's only 22 years old, but he's been through a few months now. He's been unable to adapt to the NHL play style. And, I mean, 45 goals in 15 games, 11 starts, 45 goals. That right there is not the ratio I want to be looking at. That's like a negative. That's not good.
Yeah, that's why I was like, risk losing him. All right, like if he might not come back to the NHL. Period. Like if you lose him to some team in Russia, maybe he gets better. He's 22, like you said, he got a lot of time. But if it's not working out here, like stop trying to make it work here. Like it might not work anywhere here in the United States. I'm through with it essentially.
All right. Well, I'll have to make a decision sometime in the future. Ethan, that's all I got for you today. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ben. I'll see you.
I'll see you. All right. Let's move on. We got one more thing to talk about. A team we don't talk about all the time, but they hired a new head coach, the Philadelphia Union, Bradley Carnell. Carnell? I'm not sure. Carnell. I think it's Carnell. 47-year-old is now the fourth head coach in Union history. He was named head coach this week after the firing of their longtime head coach, Jim Curtin. Carnell arrives with 10 years of professional coaching experience. He most recently led the St. Louis City Soccer Club from their historic 2023 expansion season through last July. He's also served as the interim head coach and assistant manager for the New York Red Bulls. In 2023, Carnell led St. Louis to the Western Conference's #1 seed and into the playoffs. And he broke several expansion team records. He went 22, 15, and 25. That's 22 wins, 15 losses, 25 draws in 62 regular season matches. All right. What do I think about this? Cool. He has some experience. He's kind of a new face in the MLS. He's done some good things out in St. Louis. He was, I guess, an intern with the Red Bulls. But this guy was fired last year, and now he's getting hired by the Union. It's never going to be better than Jim Curtin, I don't think. Like Jim Curtin was just such a great coach, not just soccer, but like he's a Philadelphia guy, so he gets it. Carnell is South African, so he obviously not from Philadelphia like Curtin was, but of course it's going to be very rare to find a homegrown guy. But I'm excited for Carnell, man. It's a new face for the Union. They haven't had a new coach in in forever. Like it has literally been like I think 14 years. Jim Curtin was the head coach of the Philadelphia Union. It's a new face, it's a new chapter, but like the thing is Jay Sugarman's still your owner. You're still going to have the same decisions made. Like this team is still going to value their academy over their MLS club, which is how it's been for years. You lose Jack Elliott, you lose some other guys, and like at this point, this team, I don't know where they're at, man. Like they're trying to be good, but they're like kind of retooling. Like I'm not sure where this team should be. They're coming off a horrible season with high expectations. They haven't improved in a few years. They just keep like getting like they've just been the same. Like there's been no new faces on this team in 3 seasons. They're not bringing in anything new except for 14-year-old Kevin Sullivan, who, I'll repeat it, is 14 years old, and he's from the academy. The kid is literally a middle schooler. Like, what was I doing when I was in 8th grade? I wasn't playing professional soccer, I'll tell you that right now, and I wish I was, but that's beside the point. I don't know where the Union are at. I don't know where they should be. They're so confusing. They are so confusing. It's just like, I like this coaching hire. I think Carnell is a good coach. He's done great things in his career. But if the Union aren't going to change anything and they're going to continue to stop spending money and stop getting transfers and stop like trying to build a good team, like even rebuild at this point, like start something fresh, bring a new identity to the Union, start something new around Carnell. You can do it. But they're not. There's a lot of young talent on this team. Quinn Sullivan's on this team. Jack McGlynn. There's a lot of young guys on this team that you can kind of start to build around Quinn Sullivan. But you still have Daniel Gazdag, Mikel Ura. You lost You lost Julian Carranza last year. You've lost Kai Wagner. You've lost a lot of guys throughout the last few years. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. Throughout these last few years with the Union, you either blow it up or you go all in at this point. And with how this is trending, I don't know where they're going to go. I think it should be a blow it up kind of deal and start fresh. Doesn't look like Jay Sugarman and the Union are interested in that. And Jay Sugarman, owner of the Union, horrible. Like, the guy doesn't spend money. Like, you could ask the guy to buy you a candy bar at the supermarket, and he's saying no. They're a confusing bunch. They are a confusing bunch, and it makes me upset because the Union had so much opportunity, man. The Union are a great alternative in the summer on Saturday nights. Phillies are expensive now. You go to a Union game. The Union have so much opportunity to become a good alternative to baseball in the summer. If the Union are good, you have something else you can watch and attend with your family other than the Phillies, since Phillies tickets are so expensive right now. Or when the Phillies were bad in the mid-2010s, the Union had a wide open spot to become that summer team for Philadelphians, and they didn't do it. And once again, Phillies tickets now are crazy expensive. They're going to be crazy expensive this year because everything's expensive. Union can be a great alternative. It's a really nice stadium. It's in Chester, but the surrounding area is nice. It's a welcoming environment. The games are fun. But they just don't give you anything. They give you the same product year after year after year, and it is getting worse and worse and worse. And that's where we're at with the Philadelphia Union. All right, that's going to be it. That's all I got today. That's my rant on the Union. I like their hire. I don't like their team. Flyers, goaltending needs to be figured out. The Sixers are concerning. College football is fun. And the Eagles got to not be – their game next week on Sunday doesn't matter. But you can tune in. Pre-game show at 12 o'clock right in these same spots. Philly Sports Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. You can tune in. Sam and I will be live talking about this game. We'll be talking about the Saquon Barkley decision to not play. Also, Sixers Nets tonight, 6 o'clock at the Barclays Center. So you got something to watch tonight as well. And that's going to do it. We didn't reach the hour this week, but it's okay. Nobody ever said that we need to abide by all the time. You know what I'm saying? We got to live. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you ever missed the live Philly Sports Hour, you can always go back on YouTube. They're always still up. They stay up. We are very close to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think we can get it by the end of January, and I think we should try. So make sure to go like and subscribe on YouTube. Also, along with YouTube as a place to rewatch and listen to Bob, you can listen on all podcast apps. We've got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, everywhere. We're everywhere. We are everywhere. So go check it out. Thank you to Ethan for coming on. You can go check him out on Twitter at Ethan_W6 as well as PhillySportsSports.com. You can find me on those places too at the Goldstein PSR on Twitter and of course at PhillySportsSports.com. Also, I forgot to talk about this. The Jason Kelsey show was on last night. We're going to extend. No. Jason Kelsey show was on last night. I stayed up for it. The opening was weird. It's just what it feels like to me is when it's not scripted for Jason Kelsey and it's just raw. When he's having to get someone just talking football, it's very entertaining. It's a great product. But other than that, the scripted, it wasn't great writing by the writers. So that's where I'm at. So if he can, if they can work off this first episode and make it better from how it was, it'll be good. I wrote that story on PhillySportsSports.com at 2 o'clock in the morning yesterday, and you can go check it out over on the site. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. I'll see you tomorrow on the Eagles pregame show, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Swing and a drive, left field. It's deep. It's gone. Yes! And it is gone. Yes! It is bedlam at the bank. Look at the doctor. Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way back the baby to sleep and slammed up. And the doctor made a sensational play. In front, the bucket, they score! And Giroux got it!